If you've been posting videos and your channel still isn't growing, you're not alone. In one of my recent live workshops, I analyzed over 1,000 YouTube channels and the patterns I found were honestly shocking. Almost everyone was making the same mistakes, and fixing just a few of them can completely change your trajectory. So if you're struggling with slow growth, low views, or feeling like YouTube just isn't pushing your videos out, watch this video until the very end. You're gonna see exactly what's been holding you back and what to do differently starting today. And hey, if you get value from this, gently tap that like button just like that. And let's jump into the video right now.
All right. So I'll be nice, but I'm also going to be like very, very honest and blunt about this. So let's go ahead and start off with Hair Natoli. So first of all, what is this channel about, John? I cannot tell by looking at it what this channel is about. That is a problem, okay? I should be able to just click on your channel and immediately know exactly what it's about. Now, how do you do that? You can do that with the title, obviously. You can do that a little bit with your default photo here. And you could, what definitely helps is having this background photo right here, okay? Like for instance, the next one we're going to audit right here, she has this photo in there, right? So this is definitely a good idea to do that. I cannot tell what your channel is about. Is it maybe about hair? Right? Maybe it has something to do with hair because it's called Hair Natoli? I can't tell. I don't know. And I think that everybody else has the same exact problem. So literally everybody who comes to your channel does not know the value proposition of your channel. You need to not only have a value proposition, and that's what I talked about yesterday. Remember, guys, not only should you have a value proposition, which is I help X do Y, right? You're not in the hair niche. You're in the I help hairdressers start their own business, or I help hairdressers make more money, or I help hairdressers get their first job, right? I help X with Y problem that they have. Okay. So that is a proper niche hypothesis statement. Okay. And then you at some point down the line, I help X do Y by Z, right? So that's like how you actually help them. You can do that somewhere down the line. Usually when you first start, you don't need to do that. Okay. So that's the first thing that I noticed here. And I think this is John, right? So John, what is this about? What is your channel about? I see you commenting here, but what is it actually about? Okay, fake celebrity hairstylist, fitness creator, lifestyle, and open box reviewer. Okay, so another thing here, you're all over the place with this, right? So you are talking about three different niches here, right? So fake celebrity hairstylist. I'm not sure if you mean you're like a fake celebrity or you make people look like fake celebrities. I'm not really sure what that means, but fitness creator, and then lifestyle reviewer. How do you review lifestyles? Okay. Open box reviewer, open box. So I'm guessing that means you like open the box up and then you review things. You're all over the place here, man. Like when people when people come to your channel, you absolutely need to make it crystal clear what the value proposition of that place is, right? So just as an example, let's say you are, walking around downtown of whatever city you live in, and you are in the mood for pizza. And then you see a pizza shop, right? And it says downtown pizza shop. You know what the value proposition of that place is. It's not just a building and you just have no idea what the building is. It's a pizza shop, right? I know this is like dead simple, but people mess up on this stuff all the time, right? So you know what the value proposition of that place is. It's the same thing with your channel. You have to make it crystal clear what your value prop is, John. It's very, very important that you do that. Okay. So pick one of these three things and really dial it down, like dial it in. Now, by the way, if at this point you're early on in the channel, so you can try different stuff out, and like it's a combination of what you enjoy doing, what you're good at, so what you can actually give value in, right? What you're good at slash what you can give value in, what the world needs, and then what you can actually make money from. So that's like ikigai, right? If you're familiar with Ikigai, I would look into that concept when it comes to choosing which one you end up going with, but also what the algorithm wants, right? So like you might post certain videos and the algorithm really likes that. It's like, okay, great. Keep going. So that's the first thing is you want to have a banner image. I think that's what it's called, a banner image, a background image, and you want to make it crystal clear. And to be honest with you, the banner images, when I start a new channel, what I do is it's just a black background banner image, and it's just like who I help, like YouTube for busy people. I think that's what I put on my second channel when I started it, YouTube for busy people, right? So what I help them with and who I help, right? I help, I could have also put I help people start YouTube channels, or I help business owners grow on YouTube, or I help, people treat YouTube like a business, something like that, right? But a very easy thing to do is I help X do Y.
All right, quick break. This Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm hosting a free live workshop called The New Way to Make Money with YouTube. If you've been struggling to find your YouTube niche, or you don't want to spend months or even years building a channel around something that isn't profitable or just doesn't work for you in general, then this workshop is for you. Because for everyone who shows up live, I'll be giving away the 60-second niche validator GPT. This is the most advanced version of my GPT-powered niche validation tool yet, and it's designed to help you instantly test and uncover profitable YouTube niches before you invest your time, money, and effort into the wrong one. And it's the most refined, data-driven version so far, and I'll be giving it away completely free, but only during this live workshop. So attend the free live workshop by clicking that link down the description and the pinned comment below to grab it. You'll also be able to ask me questions live, so I look forward to meeting you. Oh, and just a heads up, this will be probably one of the last times I'll be giving away a version of the niche validator for free, so make sure you click that link and show up to the workshop. Make sure you put in your calendar, and I look forward to seeing you there. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
So that's the first thing. Just make it very, very clear. You might even consider putting like a dash in your name and then saying kind of what you do over here. But I think you're still a little unclear on what your niche is. So I wouldn't put a dash there until you're a little bit more clear on what your niche is. Okay, so let's take a look at your videos here. So it looks like you don't have any long form videos, John, Haranatoli. And so that's another big thing. Like, yeah, you can post shorts if you want. I'm not going to tell you to not post shorts. I do think that shorts are becoming more effective. They were, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, shorts were borderline useless the last, like, since they came out, essentially. They've been like borderline useless for 99% of channels. In fact, if you type this in on YouTube, you'll see countless channels, channel after channel after channel after channel, where they started posting shorts and their views actually dropped significantly. So you'll notice that we don't really mess around with shorts. And by the way, when I say shorts, I do not mean Instagram Reels, right? Or Instagram, videos, right? Those are actually good. Why? Because you can actually contact people on Instagram. So it's actually much easier to monetize those views. And plus, Instagram was made for that. Instagram was made for short videos. YouTube is made for long videos. Now, I'm not saying you can't do shorts on YouTube. You can continue doing shorts on YouTube if you want to grow your channel and stuff, but the money is in the long form, and you're going to have to get to it at some point. So it might as well be sooner than later, right? Just make long form videos, right? So with that being said, it looks like most of your content that's doing well is gym related content. So it's fitness related content. This is dinner at 5, gym. Okay, so this one. Okay, we got a haircut one here. Okay. 1 versus 1,000 hairstylist. Okay, this is like gym and hairstylist. Whoa. Okay, let's check this out. What is this? Can you guys hear this, by the way? Let me know if you can hear it. Yeah, 14 minutes and 59 seconds, Glenn. Okay, let me try to share again. Let's share the sound. Let me know if you guys can hear now.
Guaranteed. I'm out of this world. Super Saiyan hairstylist.
Nice. Yeah, you're kind of like all over the place. I mean, see, the thing is what a lot of people get wrong is you can integrate different aspects of your personality. So you're really into fitness, for instance, right? You're a hairstylist. You have these different aspects of your personality. You can integrate them into your content without picking it as your niche, right? So, for instance, Alex Ramosi, he's really big in the business world. He started in fitness and he still talks about fitness a lot. Like that's a huge part of his personality is the fitness side of things, right? So he integrates that into his content, but that's not, and once in a while he might even make videos about it, but that's not his niche. Fitness isn't his niche. And you need to understand this. Like there's different things that you can integrate. A big part of my personality, for instance, is travel. I travel a lot and I integrate that into my content, but my channel is not a travel channel, right? You see what I mean? Like I don't have on my banner travel, finance, YouTube, and entrepreneurship, working online, that kind of stuff. I don't have that on my banner, right? So you kind of do want to just pick a niche and go with it. It does seem like the fitness things are doing better, but let's take a look at this video too. This video is quite dark, by the way. It's a bit tough to see. Might want to brighten that up a bit. Can this go away?
It's not how low you go, it's how strong you rise.
Okay. This is like an ad thing, by the way. I use this on Facebook, but it just puts itself everywhere. It's super annoying extension. Okay, cool. Yeah, that seems like fitness, amazing Christmas transformation. Yeah, so I think you can definitely integrate some of the fitness stuff into your content, but at the end of the day, I think your content needs to be about hair, right? And you need to make that very, very clear. And not just about hair, like hair is your niche, but what exactly are you helping people do, right? And in some cases, this is where the content strategy can get a little bit more complicated. Let me kind of give you an example of this, right? In some cases is a bit of a complicated content strategy. I don't want to get too advanced and confuse people, but this is a channel right here where essentially what they do is they're the people that they get views from are not necessarily their client base. Very common in the real estate market as well. Okay, so let me kind of show you what I mean here. And this is another example of a channel that does this. It's a bit of a complicated content strategy. So Nomad Capitalist, the people he actually sells to, his business is 7, 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs who want to basically move overseas, essentially, and optimize their taxes or whatever, right? His videos are obviously not aimed at 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs, right? Which countries are not a part of the Great Reset? 15 reasons to leave the USA forever. Best places I would live 1,000 per month. Like, do you think 1.2 million 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs are watching this video? No. Like maybe a few thousand out of the 1.2 million people that watched this video were 7, 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs, right? So it's a mass market strategy where the majority of your views are going to come from people who are not necessarily in your target demographic for what you're selling, but you're just going to get so many views that you will get a good amount of people that actually are interested. Another great example of this is Ryan Serhant. So a lot of the time he'll do these, touring $188 million California mega mansion. Do you think that the 19 million people watching this can afford a $188 million California mega mansion? Of course not, right? With that being said, maybe a few thousand people, maybe even 10,000, 20,000 people that watch this potentially could afford $188 million California mega mansion. So it's a bit of a mass market strategy that ends up getting, a decent amount of people that are in your target demographic. So I'd recommend potentially going for that strategy with your channel, John. I think that strategy might work pretty well for you. Of course, we'd have to figure out some other things like what you're trying to accomplish with this. Like what are you trying to sell? That kind of stuff like that. I'd need to get some more information. But yeah, definitely. Just as a quick recap, make it very clear what your value proposition is. Are you a pizza place? Are you an Italian restaurant? You got to make this very, very clear. An easy way to do that is with your channel banner, and then make long form content because that's where the money's at. If you want to continue with the shorts, like I'm not going to stop you, but you probably want to start making long form content. What I like to do is I like to make long form content and then syndicate that content to other platforms. So I put a lot of thought into my long form content, and then I syndicate it to like email list, all the other stuff, and that happens much more seamlessly and easily. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good review. Did John have any responses here? Let's see. Doesn't look like John was very responsive in the chat. I see him saying yes and stuff like that, but and saying thanks, but didn't have any extra information. So, all right, let's go ahead and bring over Nicole's as well. I don't know why. I thought I already opened that, but apparently I didn't. Okay. Or sorry, Camila, not Nicole. I don't know where I got Nicole from. Okay. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. I think it's Camila. I'm gonna go with Camila. Shift Happens podcast. Okay, I like it. So that's a clever name. It's a little bit of a play on the shift happens. I like it. A little bit of a positive spin. Good stuff. Like the thought. Shift Happens podcast. The one thing I would say is a little bit of the same thing with John. I would try to make it a bit more clear who this is for, right? So you do that in the description, but you should really do that on the banner. Okay. And you don't need to be hyper specific necessarily, especially when you're first starting. You can even just put something as simple as, let's see, podcast for leaders or something like that, right? But you do want to be a bit more specific. Podcast for leaders. You got 2.85K subs. Congrats on that. That's a great start. Okay, and I'm already noticing some big things that are going to help you massively here. So first of all, and you did tell me to be brutally honest, so I'm gonna be brutally honest here. These thumbnails are, no offense, they are absolutely atrocious. Like way too many words on the thumbnails. I literally can't even read the text down here. I cannot read the text down there, right? So way too many words on the thumbnails. His photo should kind of pop from the background. It looks like it's kind of faded into the background. So that's another thing that's kind of a bit of a weakness here. Additionally, and this is a mistake I see so many podcasts making. So you are not alone in making this mistake. But let me give you an example of a podcast that recently blew up, and he actually got on one of the biggest podcasts in the world. So this is a podcast right here that recently blew up, and you'll notice that. And he just got featured on the Diary of a CEO podcast, so he's really blowing up, right? And you'll notice, okay, I don't know why this is lagging. Let's try that again. Okay, go to popular. Has anybody else had has YouTube just been lagging a lot, or just like glitching out a lot recently? I think they might have laid off too many people. Like, holy cow, what is going on with YouTube? So we can't even look at his most popular videos. That's absurd. Yeah, that's what the layoffs gets you, right? Ridiculous. Wow. Can't even look at his most popular videos. Has this been happening to other people too? This has been happening to us all. We've been noticing this all the time. Okay, but anyways, his videos, what we want to notice here is The boring business that almost never fails. This is a podcast, guys. It might not look like it, but this is a podcast. It's just packaged in a much more attractive way. So the way that most podcasts package their content is extremely unattractive. They'll put season 1, episode 21, blah, 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 blah. Listen, people don't like, that's not going to get anybody to click. You should not have what episode that it's on in the title. Arguably, you shouldn't even have it in the thumbnail, to be completely honest with you. Put it in the description, sure, but don't have it in the title, and arguably don't even have it in the thumbnail. You could put it in the description, put it in the tags so people can like search your channel and find it, but you don't want it in the title or the thumbnail. Like, notice this is a podcast right here. Look, it's blowing up, and he doesn't put like, oh, this is podcast number 385 or whatever, right? These are podcasts. Like, most of his videos are pods, and sometimes they'll start it off even with like a B-roll to make it look like it's not, but then it ends up being something like this, right? So yeah, it's like this one right here. It's not that easy. Sam lunched overnight to prove it is. It's a podcast. So this is what you guys want to be looking into. Let me give you a couple other examples. Okay, so even Diary of a CEO. But this is the guy who got featured on his podcast, by the way. So yeah, and it looks like it's doing great. So good stuff. So passive income expert, how to make 10K per month in 90 days, right? An AI expert warns 6 people are quietly deciding humanity's future. He has the number 2 podcast in the world, this guy, and he grew his podcast. I think it's the number 2 business podcast in the world or something, but yeah, huge podcast, right? And he grew his podcast primarily on YouTube. Now, notice he doesn't have, podcast number 573 on here, right? These are very clickable. These are very attractive titles that can actually get people to click stuff. So even though, on your podcast itself, it might have like on the listening version, right? On Apple or whatever you put it on, it might have some number 317 or whatever, because that's what people are used to seeing in the podcast world. The truth is, most podcasts actually grow by getting people over from other platforms like YouTube. And so you need to make your videos attractive in such a way where it looks like it is coming from where it looks like it's something that people would want to watch on YouTube, and then you can kind of funnel people over to the audio version. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, the thumbnails and the titles need a total overhaul. And this is a mistake I see a lot of people make, right? Because they see the big podcasts out there, the Joe Rogans and the, whatever the other big podcasts are, right? I'm not really into podcasts that much, but they see the big podcasts out there and they think, oh, well, this podcast puts his episode in every title, I'm going to do it too. Well, they already have a massive audience. So they're playing a different game. And this is something that so many people, when they're first starting on social media, they fundamentally don't understand, right? So it's like, the analogy is this: when you have a rocket and you're getting it out of the atmosphere, when you're first launching the rocket, before it's actually out of the atmosphere, you are going against gravity and you're going against air. Okay, so there's a lot of resistance against that rocket. Once you exit the atmosphere, the same rules don't apply to you. Once you're far away from Earth, the gravitational pull is away from you, and you're out of the atmosphere, so you're not going against the air, the same rules do not apply to you anymore. Okay, so you can do stuff that's actually doesn't even make that much sense, and it can still work for you. Okay, so that's why, like, some of those big podcasts that have a huge audience that they built up over years, they can do this stuff that is not that good, and it still works for them because they just have this big audience, they have all this social proof, and they're just kind of doing their thing. The worst thing you can possibly do on YouTube, and this is one of the most common mistakes I see people make, is copy YouTubers that are already successful in your niche. One of the most common things is literally probably the single worst thing you could ever do, because they already have an audience and they can make videos on whatever they want in many cases, and they're going to do reasonably well. Whereas if you try to make a video on the same topic, chances are you're not going to do nearly as well. right? So you want to be making these thumbnails and titles in a more attractive way. Okay, so that's one of the biggest things. Make your banner a bit more obvious. Make your thumbnails and titles in a little bit more of an attractive way. Additionally, you might consider, be very careful with this, but you might consider changing the channel name to Shift Happens Podcast and then maybe a dash leadership principles or something like that. Something that just gives an overview of what the channel is about. Leadership for entrepreneurs and CEOs, leadership for managers and executives, you know, that kind of thing, right? Okay, we got this stuff. Good stuff. I'm not sure you're selling anything yet, so that's totally fine. And yeah, I mean that's absolutely the biggest thing. And then the other thing is, and this is something that a lot of people get confused on. I talk about the hot dog method or the icon method. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that because you probably heard about it yesterday, but just as a very quick refresher, you find videos that did very well. Now, doing very well can be different in many different niches. In fitness, doing well might be, you know, over 1 million views because it's such a, you know, well-known niche, right? In something like, you know, I don't know, something very niche like leadership, doing well might be 30,000 views, okay? Or 100,000, right? But you find a video that did very well that is from a small channel. Okay, very important. A lot of people do the method and they forget that part. Has to be from a small channel, at least at the time that the video was posted. And the video is objectively either mediocre or preferably bad. And then what you do is you steal the idea of the video. That's the only thing you steal. You don't steal anything else, just the idea of the video. You're going to make a title that's a bit different, right? You don't change the title up too much, okay? It's another very common mistake I see people make is they change the title up too much. But you make a title that's a little bit different, and then that is how you want to kind of like frame the idea of the video. So you want to, you know, when you're interviewing these different people, you want to kind of extract like some of the most important things from the interview. And you want to think like, okay, what is the most important thing that we talked about in this interview that would be an interesting angle? Okay. And then let's just say you guys talked about like all the layoffs. Like 30 minutes in, you start talking about all the layoffs. Okay. And then you found a video using the icon method that did very well that's talking about layoffs. You want to title the video about the layoffs and then maybe put a little clip at the beginning of the video that talks about the layoffs. And then one little segue version where you kind of explain the context of like what's going on, like, okay, who this person is, blah, 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 which you probably already did at the beginning of your video anyways. And then you get right into the video, right? And that is something that is going to make the video super attractive. It's going to make it much more clickable. Additionally, I noticed that on some of these videos, it's kind of like mixed. It's like, so there's a Spanish thumbnail, and then I'm not sure what's going on there, but you probably want to just stick with, unless you have like a super specific audience, you probably want to stick with either English or Spanish. Yeah, so that's another kind of piece of advice at this point. Yeah, probably just stick with English or Spanish. Of course, YouTube's got like the dubbing features and stuff that I don't know how good that is at this point. But yeah, hopefully that was helpful, Camila. And let me know if you have any questions based on what I said there. Yes, the value proposition should be in the description, the banner, etc. You need to make it so unbelievably obvious what the value proposition of your channel is. Because the truth is, there's probably at this point, there might be millions of podcasts out there. Why should people watch your podcast? And like, if you can, what makes this really clear, Camila, is if you were to just replace yourself with some other random person that you don't know, would you watch this? And chances are the answer is no, unless there's a reason for you to watch. You have to give a reason to watch first, right? So just as an example, let me just give this as an example here. If you were to, let's just say you met somebody in, okay, I'm just pulling up a random Miro here. Let's just, by the way, guys, obviously anybody recording this do not include the URL. So let's just say you met somebody in an art class, right? So it's like a photography class. Let's see if we can make that bigger. So you met a new person in portrait photography, right? Okay. So, they're sitting right next to you in class and you strike up a conversation and, that's, you just met this person and it's like, you're kind of wanting to make friends. If you ask this person to go on a trip to Mexico with you, they're going to be like, hell no. They're probably going to be nice about it, but they're going to be like, this person's crazy, right? They're going to be like, no. However, if you ask this person like, hey, do you want to do portrait for photography? You want to go do portrait photography after class? We got this assignment. Do you want to do it together? They're probably going to say yes. There's like a pretty high percentage chance that they're going to say yes. Okay. And then, so you guys go do portrait photography together. Next class, you ask them, hey, do you want to do landscape photography? Or maybe, do you want to do animal portrait photography? Right? I'm just going to put that. I don't want to write that out. And my handwriting is pretty atrocious too. So, they're probably going to say yes as well because it's still related. So maybe you do animal portrait photography and then you do landscape photography. And then the next class you ask them like, hey, do you want to see, like, let's flip a switch on the camera and do some videography. Okay. We want to go do some videos with the camera. They're probably going to say yes to that as well. And then the next time you say, hey, do you want to go do some drawing? You want to do some painting? Do you want to do some, I don't know, wine and painting night, right? That's a pretty common thing now, right? Wine and painting night. And then eventually you're just like, hey, do you want to hang out? You want to just hang out like as friends, want to get lunch, whatever. And you do that a few times. And then like a while later, you will like, hey, do you want to go to Mexico? Then they're going to say yes. Okay. Because now they know you. They do like initially the value proposition of them doing like hanging out with you was, okay, they're taking this portrait photography class and they have an assignment anyway. So you might as well do the assignment with somebody else. Right? That was the initial value proposition to them. And once you get down here, now the value proposition is they like you for you. They like you for who you are as a human being because they know you. Right? So it's the same exact thing on YouTube. You can't just go straight to like, watch me because I'm awesome. Like once you get your audience built up, yeah, people will just watch you because like enough other people like subscribe to you and they think you're awesome that, they'll be like, oh, this person must be awesome because of social proof. But at first you got to be like, okay, I know this person likes portrait photography. Let's invite them for portrait photography. And then later on you can like do other stuff. You can change your niche, et cetera, et cetera. But you have to make it crystal clear what your niche is. What is the value proposition of the person watching your content? You have to make that crystal clear to everybody. Why should they subscribe to your channel? Why should they watch your stuff? You got to make that crystal clear when you first start. And really, you should make that crystal clear up to probably 30 to 100,000 subs before you even, think about that other stuff. I don't think you should have your pictures on the thumbnail. I think that it's best to have the other person's pictures at this point. Yeah, probably best to have the other person's pictures at this point. I know that a lot of the podcasts kind of do that separately, but I would say just kind of model what other podcasts are doing. It seems like it's working decently well just having the other person's picture on the thumbnail. I know that's what like Lex Friedman does and like some of the other podcasts. I think it could work either way, but I would say probably just experiment with just their picture on the thumbnail, but reduce the amount of text, make the thumbnails more attractive, and that's going to help you a lot. All right, cool. Okay, so I think that's good for the hot seat. I wanted to just do a few there.
And by the way, if you enjoy these breakdown sessions and want to join one live for free, there's a free YouTube growth workshop linked down in the description and the pinned comment below. And the next video I recommend that you watch on YouTube is how we were able to help Sean go from 30K per month all the way up to over 500K per month on YouTube. And you can check that out by clicking right here.